Hello and welcome back to Bump Love. Anybody seen where we're at? It's beautiful, ain't it? We're at the beautiful Golden Tulip today for the show, and would like to let you know something. If you have some Friday nights that you want to have a good time, the barbecue night every Friday here at Golden Tulip is the place to be. So if you're, you're going to watch the show on Friday, so that evening, come and we meet here. Today on the show, we want to talk about the father-daughter relationships. You know, you guys have had things like fathers on their daughters, daddy's girl, girls marry their dads, you know, all of those sentiments that they say. So today we want to discuss that, and I want to start with, you know, what's your relationship with your fathers like?
Mine is typical.
Yeah.
The exact description you've said. I've always been a daddy's girl. I've always had that. It's a typical dads and their daughters relationship. My dad, I brought out the soft in my dad. Oh. My dad was like a real typical Gandhi, yeah. But I think
are you the first girl?
I'm the first girl.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So I think I brought up, my dad was so tough, like he used to be those real tough dads. But with me, it was like always different. Yeah. And he was like my guy, like always, like he was my first everything. Like my whole full relationship with a man has always been, and because my dad recognized a personality type in me and never ever tried to cover it or whatever. He actually, I think he recognized that this child is a little different, but still he tried to ignite my fire. Still, like he never ever let my fire die out, or he father did, even if I lived in a culture or a community. So I feel sometimes that he was cognizant of the fact that the type of person I would maybe struggle in the culture that we were brought up in the tradition we were brought up in. So he became my safe space. And indeed, every time I went out, whether it was class with anything to do with authority, everyone was like, "Panage Pumla." But my mind was always bigger than my age. Like I was always like saying erratic things and doing my own things and leading my own path. And I think he just wanted to. He was always around me. Yeah. Trying, I think, to be that, my shepherd, kind of. So he was always my safe space. I was always allowed to be who I wanted to be with my dad, and I loved that. I reeled from it so much that I became the most manipulative daughter in the whole world. Most manipulative, everything. I was never hit by my dad. My dad beat all my siblings, except never me. So I remember when I was in school on campus, I was running for a guild position on the guild, and it took money like for campaigns and things and whatever. So I called my dad and I told him, you know, Dad, I have this thing that I'm running for, and I need you to sponsor me a small. At that time, my dad was going through some economic crisis. If anything, it would have been an easy conversation to have, but then he was going through a bad period of his financial life. But I still needed to ask because I wanted to do the campaign. Yeah. So he really told me, Pumla, you know what, I really would have really wished to help you, but you know, I'm going through ABCDE and whatever. And now because I was so selfish, I sent him a message and said, you know what, Dad, I've actually understood everything that you've said, and I really empathize, and I'm so sorry about what you're going through. But you know what, I'm on campus, and there'll always be men around to give me that money. Yeah. Wow. Manipulation 101. My father was in the Africa Hall car park with all the money that I needed for the campaign in under 1 hour. Under 1 hour. Actually, so I wrote a letter. I'm so sorry, Mwami Magalanyago. Mwami Magalanyago. I wrote
Bump Love, on behalf of whom would like to apologize to you, Dad.
Actually, I apologize to my mother who took the letter. My mom used to work on campus, and she took the letter home, and he read it, and he came. So my mom found this letter years later, and she said, Pumla, I told her, you look in the other stash. If you saw the letters I used to write to my father, I was so manipulative. I got everything I wanted or needed without my mom's consent. She had no idea what was going on. She had no idea. Yeah, and Alexa, the whole page was about me recognizing what is going through and how we've all decided to cut. When you turn the page, yeah, for me, remember that plan. I see other people doing these things and they are getting on. So yeah, first of all, I had a job on campus. So I even told him that, first of all, even to ask you for this money, it was just to supplement what because I have a job. I had some salary, so I was just asking you for half. But it's okay. But it's okay. It's fine. Don't worry. I'll get sponsors. Oh, you know, campus, this campus life. I lived my life. My father.
Around his
but first, you had your dad wrapped around your finger.
And you know what that does? That I got my worst heartbreak. Also at the same time.
I'm coming to that. Where are you moving
was with my father. Now we can continue.
Because I had a heartbreak.
Yeah. But your shocks us on this show. She says with things and I'm like, my goodness, you know, I was just trying to think back at my relationship with my dad. And I guess because when you were sharing, I was like, oh, there was a boy between you and when you were had. So your dad had your brother
first? My brother first.
And then you.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know, but first of all, my dad was heavily involved in ministry when we were very young.
Okay.
So, and then coupled with that, he was very authoritarian. So like when he came home, it was the law, it was this. So the relationship was not really built when we were growing up. However, now as an adult, I think when my relationship with my dad was cemented, and I think I've talked about this before, when I was going to tell him about who I was getting married to.
Okay.
Yes. I had confidence that he would have no problem because they are similar.
Okay.
And I know we are going to talk about that. There are things I saw in my husband that I recognized in my dad. And so I found that we became closer. And I remember I put a post up on my Instagram. Had things been different, I low-key think I would have been my dad's favorite. Yeah. Yeah, I think.
Okay, so what was different? What
he was not around
Okay,
much.
okay, I see.
Yeah, he was not around much. But I think if he was, and, you know, like everything, ceteris paribus, yes, I low-key think I would have been my dad's favorite.
For my relationship with my dad, it's a respectable relationship. Let me just say it like that. I think because we were so many children. I remember doing a ride with Mulondos on this. We did that on this topic, but I feel like because my dad had so many children, I know for sure I'm not his favorite child or his favorite girl. We were just too many. There are 6 girls and 4 boys. And I am the last girl. Yeah, and then we're very different. I look more like on my mom's side than I do on his side. I'm just those, you know, like quote unquote the ugly duckling. Like I was just not, I was not aligned. And I think by the time he reached me, I was already exhausted. But I do know who his favorite child is, and she knows it, Sarah. They absolutely love each other. He has a favorite daughter and he has a favorite son, and we all know it, and we all, I guess we are kawa with it. We respect it and we understand why, but I also see what they go through because they have to put in more than we do. Me, I can dodge. If they says, oh, I need this, we know, like, yeah, this one will assist us, and indeed she will always come through. Even when she comes and says, I'm so annoyed, you guys, you're not doing anything. Whoa. The next quarrel is, you guys, I went to see daddy, I did like this for him. We're like, oh, darling, the problems of being a favorite. She's a second last girl. She's a second last, I don't know, but her and my dad have a beautiful relationship, and it kind of feels like your relationship with your dad is a relationship my sister has with my dad. But me, unfortunately, I don't have, my relationship is so scanty, so thin, so it's not really there, except the one where I know he's my dad. I respect the fact that he's my dad, but there's we can't sit down and jazz and have a conversation. And although I know he's really proud of me, I know he knows of my achievements, he will call me and tell me, I was saying the other show of yours, what. But that's pretty much where, that's where the kabozi, that's where it begins. Yeah.
So my relationship with my dad is, it actually grew when we were older. Growing up, because my sister was the first girl, we were just two girls. And we came after boys. Okay. We came after a number of boys, and then her. So she has a deeper relationship with daddy, and it's amazing. And I'm actually very okay with it. So Jane came after 4 boys, so you can imagine she was the Pumla.
I can imagine.
She was the Pumla, all that love. And it has gone on, like I've realized it has gone on through the years. Even when they're older, you find that she will call him and they have such deep conversations, which me, I never get to do. But when we grew older, I think my dad saw me, because when Jen came, she was the perfect girl. Yeah. I came after her, and I came through as when I was a baby, it was Chejo. What will make of this girl? She just can't do housework on time. She's hiding, you know. So as that she's hiding away from washing the dishes. What will make of this girl?
Meanwhile, Jen is washing the dishes.
Meanwhile, Jen is the one coutering. You all can't cook. All can't cook.
Right?
So that wasn't my struggle. But growing up, I think my dad was amazed at the woman I've become. I see it very clearly. He was so amazed. Actually, many people were amazed.
Like it was, didn't think.
Low expectations. He had very low expectations, by the way.
Why does that happen?
I feel like I don't know, he knew I would. He wasn't sure. He's like, we of the people make it. This one might and yet it's so surprising. I'm like his #1 go-to. If he needs anything, it's me. He'll call and I run faster. Of course, because I've like worked hard and I'm obliged to give back. So I always like easily give back to my dad. And when we grew older, I got married. That's when we started having like longer conversations and bonding. But growing up, he was just that father of daddy. Yes, I see you, but I'm also here. But oh my God, like we didn't have any bond. He just paid tuition. He would come with mom to visit, but it wasn't really there.
I think like any relationship, that relationship also evolves.
Yes. Mine with him really evolved over the years.
Guess what? Our dad's favorite is Louise.
Really?
Yes.
It's not his last born?
No, I'm second last.
Oh, you're second
it's
last.
Louise. It's Louise and the last, but it's Louise. And that's where back to Pumla. It doesn't matter what Louise does. She's always perfect. And the truth is she's close to perfect. She's clean. She's organized. She's, her voice is she never raises her voice. So she is, we all know, she's definitely dad's favorite. That said, my dad has a lot of love. And us guys were raised seeing a lot of love. Maybe the best way I could explain my relationship with my dad, until I was 10, he's the one who used to get us ready for school.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, so he would, in all my photos where you see me with 3 pigtails
he's
or
the
anything,
one doing that.
it was daddy who used to do that. Wow. So he was always in touch, ensuring like, now if you want to get new shoes, you wait for mommy to go on holiday in Uganda. Then you spoil your shoe always. But because daddy won't get for you butter. Mommy would get for you butter. But to explain the love between a father and a child, a father and his daughter is, when I got pregnant, I told you a lot of people knew that it was over for me. Yes. So we are Baganda, but we don't do the kneeling thing. I always just say, that I ever kneel like now for my dad over. Well, I knelt the day I had to tell him I was pregnant. And he had a condition called angina. You don't give him news anyhow. So I crept near him. I put my head in his lap. I said, Daddy, I'm sorry. That man, when people would, make comments, he would hold my hand in town when I was pregnant. You know, when I was about 7 months, and of course I'm getting heavy, and mommy maybe would be in Sese Islands. I came home one day and he had pulled my bed into his room.
Your dad.
No one has
And
tissue.
I used to wake up like at 3 a.m. and I'd feel hungry, and he would always have like a flask of ice, like mashed potatoes and frankfurters. And he would wake up and would feed as he just sits and we talk. I don't know whether you guys know what being pregnant those days was like.
Especially
At a young age, it's always tough.
But I never felt like I wasn't good enough or I'd made such a big mistake. So,
Bless him.
Oh, on behalf of
Bamplab,
we would love to say
to apologize, I stopped crying. I don't cry these days anymore, but man,
I think he's still there. Every daughter, I think every daughter should feel that love. once
especially
in
when
her
they feel like they
lifetime.
have messed up.
Exactly.
That's when you should be drawing in. And I find that a lot of dads, I guess, in their disappointment and frustration, they will shun their daughters and say, you know, you've disappointed me, you have shamed me, and yet that's when you're supposed to be drawing them in, saying, I actually love you and I'm still proud of you.
Yeah, you know, there's a party going on and everyone's like, now why did they bring that one? She's not giving, like, you know, people her age the right example. And daddy would call and sit here. So, you know, you don't feel. And even when OJ came, he told him the first thing was, I'm glad you didn't come yesterday. I could have killed you. Oh, wow. But today, you are my son. Let's sit and talk.
wow.
That's exemplary.
Very exemplary.
Especially in our culture.
In our culture,
You've spoken about OJ, and I wanted to ask how your relationships with your dads affected or informed your decision on who you dated or who then you ended up with anyway. Yeah.
Oh yes, for me in my case, had my dad, the way my dad acted in this whole situation really ensured and pushed us together even more, you know, because I remember he was like, oh, you know those days if you get a girl pregnant you have to pay her fees and everything. Dad was like, no, I'll continue paying Angie's fees, you know, same pocket money, same everything, so that a man doesn't feel like you're a burden. So it you know, it even brought us much closer. Then small things like dad used to I usually scent and memory come together. There are certain perfumes I smell and I remember sadness. Like I was sad during that period. So for me growing up, Old Spice was the first scent.
Oh my gosh, yes, Old Spice.
And you know, he's one of those like super clean, you know, perfume and everything. And then the time when I first met OJ, he was wearing CK Obsession, Calvin Klein Obsession. And it smells very, very similar
to Old Spice.
That was the first, because I had someone talking to me, I was like,
Who is that?
the customer. And
You are so
so yes, without a doubt. And of course, kindness. OJ looks like, you know, tough and everything.
But he's kind.
Oh, he's a kind man. And you to live with me, really?
You have to be kind.
For sure. Well, just like yours, so when I was growing up, because I was so much closer to my dad, I used to think I was my father's child. I only learned that I was my mother's child later when I started speaking to my mom in an adult way. So I literally used to think that because this is who, me and my father were the same, that's why I'm attracting men like my father. It's not something I really thought about. I think of this now in retrospect. But so my personality is innately my mother's. Innately my mother's. And I felt, and it made me realize later why my father was being my shepherd. Because he had dealt with this same person before every 4 years. for years and years, and he had seen, and you know what, this is something that my current partner said recently. And he said to me, sometimes I'll do things, and then he doesn't, and I've seen him literally like look at me and have like a smirk on his face, where somebody else who I've been with has been upset. And when I told him that, I feel like you don't mind, like when I do things, is it because you're not expressive as a person? And my dad is also not really expressive as a person. Is it because you fear what I'm going to tell you? I was like, everywhere I've gone, people are always trying to, to cover, put my fire down, put my fire down. And he actually told me, Pumla, the truth is your fire excites me.
Thank you.
Oh.
What I only worry about is the consequences when I'm not there. Sometimes when you call me, I think someone has retaliated, done something. And my father told me exactly the
same thing.
Like years ago. That no, I was just trying to protect you. And I realized that it's because he had dealt with my mom. My mom is like a force. Big personality, loud, fiery, big spirit. You can music is my dad, my mom actually told me that, Pumla, when you're dating somebody, be with somebody or marry somebody who loves you because of who you are, not despite who you are. You should never be there and say that, Manage, for me I have these flaws, but I'm lucky that Mr. Gundi likes me and accepts me. No, find somebody who doesn't see it as a flaw. And I found like my partners, so like my father and my mama like are really yin and yang. Like my dad is on this side. My mother doesn't care what people say. My father. So I said this. Am I now allowed to say my heartbreak?
Yes, please. Yes.
So and when this heartbreak came, I had dated before. I had bad heart cuts. I understood heartbreak through my father. Real heartbreak. Where even now, and this happened 12 years ago, and it happened because my dad really cares so much about people's opinions and what society thinks. When I made the phone call to give my decision to leave the house, my dad didn't talk to me. Whereas my mom is the one who gave me my rent money, my first half of my rent money to pay when I was leaving the house. My dad called me the next day, and I just want to say this. Me and my dad have spoken about this, and it's not that, and I've healed from it, but, so he might be thinking, but now why is she talking about it, and yet we've moved on. But no, this again, Bump Love we're just sharing our experiences, because there might be daughters out there who have suffered, going through the same. So Dad, don't worry, I love you, it's healed, we moved on, but just sharing that experience. My dad called me the next day and sided with my husband, as in he actually had stopped talking to me. The time when I realized, because I didn't up and leave the house, I started having the conversations. And for that period, he just let go. He let go of my hand. My dad had never, ever let go. So for me, it was, why? How?
However wild you became, he had never.
It doesn't matter what I did. I'd been expelled from school. And still he held me here. It didn't matter what I did. And not that he did not punish me for it. There was some kind of punishment, but he punished me from here. And he just picked up the phone and said, you're going where? So what do you think people will say about that? If that's a decision that you have decided to make, you make it. But that's it. This is not a thing anymore. If you've decided to go that route, yeah, fine. First of all, then he started listening for me, everything. And then I realized that in the time when he was quiet, he was having conversations with my husband. He poured for me data. I was on the phone like this. Me, have you ever known me to be quiet on this other end? I was quiet. This, that. I was like, you've been speaking to my husband and not to me.
To me, yes.
Maybe the husband spoke to him.
Yeah, I used to try, but he stopped talking to me.
Not I'm saying, maybe your husband went to him.
Yeah, he used to. That's what used to happen, but I was shocked he was allowing.
He was agreeing.
You see how your dad told Oja that if you had come yesterday,
that
is what I expected. That is what I expected. The reality was he was actually giving him advice and telling him what he could do and things.
Make things
so now he's calling me and saying, even you did this, even you did that, even this, like everything that my husband used to accuse of, he was now my husband. Like, so when he was speaking to me, I was hearing my husband again. And all the reasons I was leaving the house, he was just by full force. So that was October 2010. I next spoke to my father in 2012.
What?
Yeah.
And you used to go home every...
I never stopped going home. I couldn't go.
For 2 days?
I wasn't allowed. My mom used to come and visit me in tricks, pretend she was not even allowed to interact with me.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And these are journeys, like you see people saying that, oh my God, how could she do that? She was so young, she left, but they don't know, what happened. They don't know the stories that happened. And for me, it was more, and you see, I think I became so close to my mom at that time, because that's when my mom now came.
Your fellow fire.
The fire, the one who was always, and like always telling Pumla, what's wrong with you? Like we used to have so many fights because we were exactly the same. And it is during that period of 2 years. And I feel like everything happens for a reason, because in those period of 2 years is when I learned my mom. I learned to love my mom. I told my mother for the first time, I love you. Like me and my mom now, we are BFFs. Like we are now like best friends. We now get, and she looks at me and says, this is what I was preparing you for. I knew the world was never going to be kind to a character like you. So if you went into the world without that confidence of being, or surety of yourself, you would break each and every point. You would just break. People would break you. But now it's fine. Don't worry. We'll be okay. I'll be here. And she would like come secretly. And my dad, for me, please note, I had been through like what I thought was a bad heartbreak on campus when I dated my first boyfriend. I was going through a divorce, so my heart had been breaking for a year. But what happened with my dad now?
It really broke you.
It broke me. Even now, when I speak about it, I still feel I'm triggered. I keep going back. It triggers me. Even so, it's in 2012 that we had a full conversation. And like real, and I saw him now try to reach out. So in 2011, he started trying to reach out. So my mom taught me in that point that, you know what, because you felt so much, I know you don't want to start that relationship again. So for me, I've always been heart me cut. Heart me cut. So in through that, my mom taught me forgiveness as well. And that's, somebody, they are human beings as well. You see, if you put somebody at a pedestal, like because everything, how can it be that the one time he does something wrong,
now suddenly
is when you cut? How can you not remember
all the
person he was to you before that?
Big-headed. He got in touch in 2011. And you finally spoke to him in 2012. Panange, you're strong. Me, the first message, I would look.
No, my heart was still broken. My heart was like literally still broken.
You're also in a place when you are also going through a divorce.
And I was going through the motions of the divorce as well. It was a lot to deal with, and then the support system has decided to back away from you. And so it was a lot, and that's in that point when I also now just started to be me and just do things by myself. I can't pick a phone and say, Dad, I'm going through this. No, I will tell you maybe after the fact that, oh, by the way, this happened. So that for us was like, so there was a journey of healing, and that relationship hit a pause. And then after, so right now, the youngest sister is now the most favorite.
She took your place.
I want to step back.
That's it.
A blocker. You're like a joke bow.
Like you never left.
True. And I think for me, how my dad impacted, like I had mentioned that when I went to tell him about Ben, I had already seen, in fact, when I told my husband when I told my father that Ben had proposed, his first response was, but I've been waiting for you guys. It's like I've watched you interact, because at the time my dad was doing a show at Power FM where we both were working, and it's like I have seen your interactions. It was very minimal, and my dad is very prophetic, for those of you who understand the prophecy. But he said I had seen both of you and I was just waiting. I was sort of wondering what took you so long. So I was afraid, because you're going to tell your dad who you're going to marry and you just never know what to expect, but I had a feeling that he would like the person that I had come to present to him. So there's one thing, for you it was scent, for me it was music. When we were growing up, my dad used to play, I don't know if anyone knows, do you know Lenny LeBlanc? Lenny LeBlanc? Yes. You do know?
Word, yes.
You know Lenny LeBlanc?
That's how old she is.
Lenny LeBlanc, Integrity Music. You guys, that music of, they'll have like, maybe like 3 words in a sentence. Very simple, very like, there's no masape, there's no like instruments. That's the kind of music my husband listens to. And I used to be like, this guy is really like my dad. Because growing up, that's the music we used to listen to. Yeah. My dad was in charge of the radio. Nobody was in charge of the radio. Please.
Don't touch it.
Don't touch it. We listened either to that or to BBC. So when I first met my husband, I was like, you remind me of my father. Because of the music he used to listen to. And then, of course, there was the aspect of faith. He was I'd grown up in a Christian home. But I don't think I had ever encountered someone, and I'd grown up in a very conservative church. I don't think I'd encountered someone outside of my church circles and family circles that was very passionate about God and about the Bible, and you must read the Bible and spiritual activity and all of that. So I was like, eh. And then he had that authority, I guess because of the way we interacted with my dad.
Yes.
And I think as a person, I always wanted a man who could measure up. Yes. Like sort of lead. And direct and bring vision and what. And Ben brought all of that. So that plus the music.
Yeah. You had arrived.
I've arrived.
Let me first answer before you, because I have another question after that. So for me, this wasn't intentional, but I think I looked for someone that was different from my dad.
Oh.
And I guess because we weren't in a relationship much, or I just didn't like the way things were when we were growing up. It wasn't the perfect, like, so as born into a polygamous family, so I really wanted to get married to a man who I knew wanted to have a monogamous relationship. I didn't look, my dad is, okay, so honey, these things are just for the camera, okay? I'm just telling you, just for the camera. My dad is an extremely handsome man, like really. So I don't think I wanted a really handsome.
They are beautiful women, they are attractive women, they are cute women. I think her father is beautiful man. Then Mwami Mlondo is cute man.
You are just giving us soft landing, but she has said what she has said.
But why do you think I apologized after? You see, there's a thing about my dad. My dad is, or was, now he's old and, you know, but he was an you know those northies? The handsome. You're in the right audience. You've understood them very well. They are very, they are very eloquent. They are very educated, put together. And like quiet. They enter a room and everybody gets like disorganized. Do you understand? That was my dad. Now for my darling Mr. Mlondo, he just walks in. What attracts you to him to then realize he's so cute is his character. Yeah. You first fall in love with his vibe and his character. My dad was just those guys who would have presence. He didn't say anything. He just comes in. He sits down. So I didn't look like your husband. So I feel like in so many ways I looked for everyone. I looked for a man that was not like my dad, and it wasn't intentional. It was in your subconscious. It was in my subconscious. I met a man who, like, I mean, my dad was above emotion. He never said a thing. And then here I looked to having a man who could have conversations with me. I would talk with Brian on end and for hours. My dad would never say things like what's happening in the future. I met a man who would tell me now, this is where I'm going to go, this is what I'm going to do. And meanwhile, I could see this because I would see the relationship between my dad and my mom, and then I would see my relationship with my current husband, and I can clearly see that they are different. And my husband.
But you said your current husband.
Oh, wow.
There was one before
My dad was those corporate job guys. What I got a gig guy, complete gig deal, you know, all of those things. So I feel that I looked for, in my subconscious, I really looked for someone that was very different from my dad. My husband gives me so much reassurance of who I am. I remember at a time my dad really hurt my feelings. I was doing really well in school. And I called him, I don't know if I've told you guys that story. I called him, off camera. Oh my gosh, Daddy. I called my dad and I was like, oh, Daddy, guess what? I was the best in school. And then his answer was the eloquent. Yes. Now you know the guy I'm talking about. He's it's like, so are you the bright one or they're just stupid? Oh! Wow. What on my... I knew from that would want the answer. I was those questions, but I don't voice them. But you're not asking, you're wondering for me.
I'm not for you, like general children.
Yeah.
So are you bright or bad?
And you are not, you are average. You keep it, never talk it. Yeah, and I remember that really hurt my feelings because I just gotten a scholarship which was going to help pay my brother's fees. So my man was just like, Panange, can't you just celebrate? Yeah, but also because I had worked so hard. Then I wanted some validation from my dad, you know, like, well, it's like, wow, well done, good on you, or something like that. And so I think that really savored our relationship a lot. But I remember when I was getting married, now getting married to Brian, my dad, the differences were so glaring. What's his job? Because he owns he works on radio, he does TV, over what. I'm like, oh, okay, so what's his like position? TV presenter, radio host? He owns
and on the side,
oh, okay. Those ones were gigs at that time, you understand? You can't say that my job is I am on TV or you're doing what? You understand? You needed to be like as if in a bar. Yeah, kind of like have a main job. Okay, so what tribe is he? Is a Muganda. You are just things we are not. But I remember that one of my uncles, and God rest his soul in peace, he said, you know, one of the times that you need to show your dad the most and the utmost respect is when you're getting married. Give him the honor that is due. Give him the all. Doesn't matter what he has done in the past. My uncle didn't want to hear it. I don't care what he did. Here you're bringing a man, and for you now, your man is very different from your dad. Yeah. So please respect him. Who's your father? Who's your boyfriend bringing? I remember Brian was bringing over his mom's, but they took him back. No. God, bring here. Fathers talk to fathers.
Talk to men.
Please. We talk here to men, not to women. Yeah. You click. So I really looked for someone different from my dad. Yeah.
In your case, I think it's so. You've heard of ladies that are attracted to intelligent men,
sapiosexuals.
Yeah. So my husband, sapiosexual.
Yes, that's the one. A woman who's attracted to the mind.
Yeah, attracted to the mind because all he spoke was intelligence. I have this baby life. Can you hear? Yes. Yeah, but anyway, from my father, he was exactly the same. Like he was focused. You could see that he had a sense of direction. Yes. He wanted us to be a certain kind of way, regardless of where life landed him. But like he had so many big plans. And for me, that's what attracted me to my husband. That, especially the focus, the goal, very goal-oriented. Yes. Like even when we were in courting, for him, his thing was, you're not of now, by the way. Yeah. This is what I'm looking at. This is it. Yeah. He didn't make me feel like anything could happen. He always made me feel like this is it. Yeah. He's not those guys who always made me feel like, oh, you're not enough, or anytime I can replace you. I always felt content in his presence and very secure. That is it. He's always had that security, even before he had nothing. Because I met him when he was at zero, but there was a sense of security that he always gave. Because he was enterprising at a very young age. He would feed me while at campus. I know that he was getting it from his parents. He was hustling, as a young man.
So for me, that's what really attracted. And
Yeah. So this is my last question. What is the father-daughter relationship looking like in your homes right now? And how would you advise dads to have stronger relationships with their daughters?
I'll go fast because it's really short and it's not primary. I'm not a daughter. I don't have a daughter living in my home, and I'm not a father. But I made a phone call to my sister Shatra, and I asked her about the dynamic between my brother, or my sister-in-law, and her husband, and how they treat. They have 3 children, but Zalea is the firstborn, she's a girl, and then Chitumba is the secondborn, he's a boy. And me, from what I used to see, so because of the relationship I told you before, my dad and my son and my brother, their relationship was really strange. It was like I would never wish that relationship on any father and a son. Like, it was so hardcore, macho, and and because my brother had that insight, and this is something he shared with me when he was an adult, older. So I knew that he was self-aware of what had happened. So when I saw him with his daughter and his son, I see that he's tough on his son. And then it's something that I wanted, like, I brought to his I wanted to bring to his attention. I think it was a sensitive topic. It's like, but you remember how you and dad were? Why are you fathering this thing, this problem? So I decided, I asked Shatra, and then Shatra told me that actually your brother is so aware of it, and he realizes that it is so innate for him to want to smoothen things with his daughter and become so hard and tough. So she gave me an example and said, you know that we can be together in the sitting room. And then Zalea says something or shouts or whatever, and then immediately her father he even starts comforting her from the sitting room without even knowing what has happened, what the problem is. Goes even picks her. She even sent me a picture of a time when that actually happened, and he was soothing her. Yet the problem had been the brother who had him. So he didn't even have to listen to any one side of the story. He just knew, my daughter is in pain, let me soothe her. The exact same thing happened to Chitumba. He started cursing from the sitting room. What have you broken? Where have you done that? Come, like that had. But then he says that because now he's recognized it, he immediately goes ahead and does damage control. So he goes and sits with him and talks and he says, so Chitumba is 5 years old, 5 or 4. He's saying 4 years old, he's 4 years old. And he's been doing that dance. Like he says, like he keeps having to train his mind, to be softer on the son. And even if the relationship with his daughter is cuddly, but also to try to give some room, but still love her within that, but not make it be like such an obvious disparity in how I'm raising my son and how I'm raising mine.
It's a good thing that he's self-aware, and I think it can only get better because there are people who are not aware of it. So obviously I don't have a daughter yet. I honestly believe my husband is going to be a father to girls. Yes, amen. And he always has amen. He always has this thing of, I don't know how to be a father to girls, because he grew up as a part of like a boy family. They don't have daughters, and so it's like it's what he knows. And then because he's male, so I feel like he's going to make a great father to girls. And I think what I would want to see, because now I am speaking into the future, what I would want to see is him being intentional about creating a bond, because it may not come as naturally as the way it is with a son. I would want to see him be more intentional about creating a bond with his daughter. Yeah, and as I speak to
it won't. Let me tell you something. You don't need it. Don't worry.
Really,
you cannot.
Men and girls.
Really. If anything, you work on yourself.
Don't worry.
I love that. If anything, Micah is going to be like he used
Bambi, Micah.
Don't worry, Micah. You and I. We
should have done a show of mothers and boys.
We'll do it.
We'll absolutely do it. Yeah. So I think for me that bond, and I think also not being afraid of the girl things, because things like periods is obviously much later in life, but girls are like within, they feel their emotions and talk emotions, the heartbreaks, the crushes and all of that, and just not shying away from those conversations, because sometimes I feel like men are like, oh, this is not my field, and if there's a mom in the picture, they'll sort of defer that conversation to get into it. I think there's an appropriateness that is okay when you're talking about things that are only unique to girls. So don't be afraid of the girl things. The girl things.
I totally love the bond my husband loves with Zara.
I know.
Choka, he had said he was happy with just the boys.
That's what they say.
Yeah. Zara will hear the cahoting. Jump out of bed. Those things warm here. Mommy, I want to sleep. She will pop out of her bed, run and scream.
That is bad.
And then they cuddle. And then he will carry her up. It's so beautiful to watch. And also the fact that he didn't grow up with girls. He has no sisters. So yeah, pretty much like Ben.
Okay.
So, you know, like for him, it's come from scratch. But I think it's just that.
The natural
love for a girl.
That's so nice.
He realizes how different girls are. I feel like he has understood me more when the girl came, which I totally love.
I wish she was the first to go. I wish. Have saved us many years.
Oh my God, it would have saved us so many years. So Zara is exactly like me. She loves to dance, guys.
That's amazing.
So when she comes and she has a vibe. When she enters the room, it's a
Vibe.
So she will dance. Because before, I think my husband struggled understanding this vibe thing. Like, this vibe is supposed to be for a certain age. I'm like, dear. I didn't have to explain much. When Zara came. It's like, do you baby? Dance all night long. Because, so he's like, oh my God. It's like you're born with this vibe. Like, so I totally love the bond that they have. And for me, I feel that for a father-daughter relationship, it has to start at a young age. For us who have started much older, it's not as intimate, it's not as deep as those, as you know, the two of you. You feel like, it's there, but not really there. But for when you start early, the bond is so deep. Like a girl can confide in their father, and they will understand how it is to love a man because you've been loved.
I truly believe that a girl should her first love should be her dad, so that she can have an example of how a man should love a woman. And I think men have the ability to love their daughters regardless. And yet that's what we want out of the men that we get married to, that they will love us regardless. And I truly believe that most men struggle when they have a boy, because they are trying to make sure that they are men. They have to be built, they have to be strong, they shouldn't feel, they shouldn't have to with the girls. Correct. Exactly. So I feel that in the beginning, Branch, and he did share with me, he said, you know me, this thing of being a father to a man, he has to be ready for the world. You understand? He has to be ready, and no waiting that he's a baby. Why is he crying? He just came from the womb. I'm sorry. Why is he crying? So why is he crying? But they do it. They do.
I remember you even said like at 9 months old.
I like let them cry.
Thank you. Yes. Men, when the daughter comes. So when Bianca came, and let me tell you, Brian would be so tough with Banag. It would break my heart, because I was just like, he's not ready. He's not. You understand?
And I just don't want to be the one who says
exactly. I used to say. It was. I used to say. I said no, stop it. And I remember once we had a conversation between Brian and I, and we realized that I can only mother him, and I have no idea what it is to father. And he can only father him, and he has no idea what it is to mother. So can you mother? Can you father? Okay. As long as you cannot father, keep quiet. So even when I'm in pain, I'm just like, it's me. What I can do is be a mother. That's when I will do very well. So whenever they have a role between the two of them, and you know, Blake seems quiet. And he has a thing inside there. It's not even it comes, it is there. And his is just constant. Yes, he just waits and he just answers. Like, but now, I'll tell you where did that come from. Now, Bianca comes. The things that Brian used to do to Blake, he was not doing to be. I'm like, Mr.
Now you're not spanking.
Now you're not fathering the daughter. We agreed that I will mother and you will father. But you are mothering the girl. Can you please father the girl? So I also feel that in that way, he's always holding himself in check because he's like, I want to be the father. But then won't I be mothering in this father thing of where you know the way they are? So, I really feel like he struggles, and I wish I could help, but I can't because I'm like, because I'm a mother. So I feel that he absolutely lets Bianca go on so many fronts. It is when I am badly off that I sit him down and say, Mukwan,
you are slacking.
You have attended now, you're not slacking, you have slacked, you've fallen, you are the other side. Kati, your daughter has reached here. Until when did she reach? While you are quiet and doing nothing, this is where your daughter has now reached. She's entitled, she's okay. Then he turns on her. Now that confuses Bianca because she's like, now, I was excited to see you. I was, when is daddy coming? I miss daddy so much when daddy reaches. Have you done your homework? Have you? It's like banana. So I feel like he's really dancing through it, and I understand what my husband is going through because he didn't have much of his dad around, so he didn't see the relationships happening. But I commend him because he's trying, and as it goes, like I'll see him say something to Blake, and he can see that it has hurt Blake. Then immediately he jokes about it. He tries to cover it as quickly as possible because he has realized.
When you're aware,
when you're aware, so he's aware, and I commend him for that because I know it doesn't come naturally. It's not something that he saw growing up, and so it's a new thing for him and a journey. But I remember just saying to him, and maybe what my advice is to many dads. Let me tell you something, dads. Our children, boys or girls, will always forgive their moms.
Yeah, that's true.
Whatever we do to our children will always forgive us. It's only some outliers, obviously, but the greater majority, no matter what I do to my daughter or I do to my son, as long as I come before them, my children will always forgive me. Unfortunately, as a dad, you don't have that luxury. So us women, we can make mistakes. I don't know, it's a mother thing. There's a certain bond in there that we can't explain. Again, they're outliers. They're outliers. They're always outliers. Yes, they're exceptions to the rule.
I'm just wondering why.
I know. We also don't know.
More time with the.
I don't know. I think that one we'll have to ask God when we reach heaven. And so I say to dads, watch. Ask yourself before. There's certain things that don't be permissive also and then do nothing. And then actually don't also overdo. And I know what we're asking you and advising you. It's kind of hard to put, like, make up your mind. What do you want me to do? But I think for me, overall, dads, just be involved in your children's lives. Just be involved. Even if you don't have an opinion about it or whatever, just be involved. Play with them. Even when they're older, because even right now, Brian says, I enjoy Blake so much. Because he's older now.
And that dads like older children.
Yes, they do. They don't like that. So I would just say to you as a dad, you don't have that luxury. So unfortunately, your mistakes, unfortunately, I don't know why the world is like this to you, but your mistakes are so much stronger. You just make one mistake and the child is out with you. So for me, I pray over you and I hope that you make the right decisions when it comes to your children. But just be mindful. That's what I would say as advice.
I don't believe there is a bad parent or a good parent. They are parents. And these children, they can't tell. That's why you find the children of a murderer still crying or wanting to assist because it is what it is. So be present. Be present. Even if you're drunk, I'm telling you, be present. Even if you're drunk, come to my school thingy rather than not coming.
Yes.
Because without that, you leave these girls adrift to the first compliment they receive, that lack of confidence. You can't walk into a room because you're like, will I, won't I? Because these are the things that you learn from a man, like the way you are attracted to. If you notice the things we are attracted to in men, security, power. So without those, you become timid. You're not sure of yourself. I always used to say this to Oji because he comes from a different way of life from what I did. But he'd be like, we will become like your parents later. I'm like, babes, it starts now. Yeah? And even like now with the kids, with the boys, of course, it's tough love, this. When Asante came, he's a gentleman, but you find him with that kind of, and you bond from the time that child is born. Because what I believe is a father goes out and selects the finest tree, sews it down, shaves it, chisels it, sands it, nails it together, and creates the table that is going to be his daughter's life. What women do is we bring the chair. It is your father who creates the table that you're going to invite people to. So if they find you with a stable table, they won't shake you much.
They will not shake you.
But the worst thing is you had rather, so I said, you can either be good or bad, but be there. You'd rather an unstable table than a girl roaming this world, looking for a table to be on, you know.
And they always look for those tables, and let me tell you, they always land at the worst, the shakiest,
broken one
tables.
But remember, they are looking for affirmation. You know, I am something. So whilst women, we know we're always fussing about the girls, be clean, be this, be this. It is the boys we are supposed to be watching out for. Just like the fathers
should be
watching out for their I said present. Even if you are blessed, go to her school gala and cheer her on. Those are the women who are going to change this world. Because when people say, when they hear, I've had call, but when they hear OJ speak about Asante, already she's, you underwear, now Imagine when he's talking about how his daughter wakes up and how his daughter was the best in the school, how she broke record, how Asante, and I'm like, this is the shit every girl child needs. Honestly, because you see that girl, you can't wake up and tell her she's not enough. It is like telling me I'm not enough. I shook cause there I'm I'm looking for papas. I'm no longer a mom. Pink coconut is not yet there. But when I got steady, when you found no one can shake it. I have a soft side, but inside, that's why
I agree. It is a father's responsibility to make your child feel unlimited. And let me tell you the truth, as you've said, moms don't really provide that for their daughters. I don't want to say cannot, because I know the exceptions to the rule, but it's a father's responsibility to make their daughters feel unlimited, so that even when they grow, even when they leave your home, they have a constant, there's nobody, they're not looking for validation from anything or anywhere else. You input it in them and it's sprouted into a tree and it stays there. You cannot infiltrate. You know, that's it. No man should be allowed to infiltrate a woman's confidence, her esteem, her power. No, the foundation is daddy. That's it. And if you're not there, we are sorry. Those are the broken girls you see women on the street, and you don't know how to fix them. Because there is something, the foundation was never laid. So dads, it's your responsibility. Just be present, even when you're drunk.
Be present.
Present.
For me, what I wanted to re-echo is the mothers can affirm the boys. Fathers, you need to affirm your girls. Make it intentional, be intentional to be present. because many things will distract you. There's
Yeah.
work, there's lots of things you're running around with,
Yes.
but be intentional.
Yeah.
Affirm those girls. That is what
Affirm.
is going to build them, to strengthen them, to be
Yeah.
able to stand in this world, to stand, yeah.
Yeah.
So much power here, man. I'm feeling it.
To share just one
You
teeny
people, can I
thing.
please wrap up?
You are going to
this
wrap
show?
up the show.
Okay.
She talked about
She
talked about fathers validating their daughters, so that when you like letting a man, he doesn't disorganize you. And there's a meme that always cracks me up every time I see it. You know those bouncing balls that pregnant women sit on?
Yes.
So there was this chick seated on a what? On a ball. And then the meme read, when you allow a guy to enter your life. The guy had sat on the ball. Then she went tumbling all over herself.
Yeah,
Sorry, you
that's
can
so
wrap
true.
up.
No worries. Yes, I do need to wrap this show up, and I would like to say to those people that don't have a dad or never had a dad, and you feel lost and you feel broken. Many people ask me, how come I am the way I am? How come it didn't seem like it affected me or whatever? I would like to say this. For me, it was just God. There still has to be someone who says and validates you. My validation came from the word of God, knowing who I am. You cannot tell me who I am not, because I know what the word of God says about me. You understand? So even if you don't have a dad, you don't have that. Even if you're a mother whose husband is out and you have a daughter, okay, there are places where you can get your daughter affirmed.
Yeah.
Now, if you are those fathers who are looking for plot for you and your daughter, Golden Tulip, this Friday is just the place for you to go. Barbecue, band, good people, good vibes is exactly what you need to have deep and meaningful relationships or conversations with your daughter. So can't wait to see you this Friday right here in this room. Let's see some more father-daughter dates happening here at Golden Tulip. Until next time, with love from Bump Love.